Biden's approval rating is 39% in our poll, 61% disapprove of the job he's doing.
Let's take a look at some of the prices under President Biden. You can see here natural gas, that's up 29%. Groceries up 25%. Those used cars higher in price by 35%. Electricity up 25%.
According to a new Fox poll, which says 78% of voters view the economy negatively.
60% of workers say their income has not been enough to keep up with inflation.
Gas prices are down by $1.90 from the peak after Putin's war began, and wages are rising and higher than before the pandemic.
You know, I'm very happy with the outcomes we've seen in the economy over the last year or so.
Why do you think there is this disconnect, and are you concerned about the fact that the administration's message around Bidenomics isn't landing?
So I think we've been through a lot. The pandemic caused an enormous amount of disruption in people's lives, and we're still in the aftermath of what's been a serious shock.
I feel like the underlying trend lines in inflation are good. We've seen grocery prices come down. We've seen prices at the pump come down. We've seen some of the core areas moving back down to pre-pandemic levels.
The top two issues for American voters are inflation and the border. And the president gets large disapproval rates for handling inflation, and Americans think his administration's actions led to it growing, as you can see there, not slowing. Why don't you think the president's policies are resonating more?
Look, the president gets it. I get it. I have a 95-year-old grandmother in Clinton, Louisiana, so I get firsthand feedback on what people are feeling at the ground in these small little towns like I'm from. So I get it. The macro numbers are going as well as anybody could have predicted, right? Inflation coming down, job numbers remaining strong. But people have got to feel it, and it's going to take time.
Look, the rate is slowing, but prices are still high. And so when you ask people, okay, the jobs market is strong, yes, they acknowledge that, but their income isn't keeping up with inflation. And that's that immediate pocketbook impact where you see such big numbers say that.
Because prices are still not back at those pre-pandemic levels.
Right. And when you look at what can be done from there, people say, okay, well, number one, there's no appetite for more rate hikes. And that's important. That's affecting a lot of, especially a lot of young people as well. There's a large sense that they think the president can control inflation. And look, objectively, that may or may not be the case, but it kind of comes with the job, right? They're not certain. In fact, many aren't sure what exactly the White House has done about all of this. And so his handling of inflation in particular remains low.
I think this is a soft landing, and this is not to say that Americans are feeling great about the economy.
I was going to say, you don't get a lot of credit for it in the administration. Less than a third of voters, according to a new Wall Street Journal poll, thinks that Bidenomics is working. Why is that?
Although I thought it was a hopeful sign that in the recent preliminary Michigan survey, you do see an uptick in consumer confidence. Consumers are beginning to understand that inflation's coming down. And although wage growth has moderated some, it remains healthy, and inflation's come down, and now real earnings are going up. And so gradually over time, I think people will feel better about the economy. Now, the level of prices in some cases is higher than it was before the pandemic. And people notice that. They notice their bills, certain bills are higher. Rent would be a very good example. Apartment rentals, for example.
Why is that coming down?
Well, it's stopped going up, but we did have very big changes in the way people live and work during the pandemic.
Look, here's the reality. This is like the old story where someone comes in at night, robs your whole house, shows back up in the morning when the police are there, and they said, oh, that's the most terrible thing I've ever seen in my life. How could that have happened? And by the way, I have something here to sell you if you like it. I have a TV here. This is exactly what's happening here. They're trying to convince you of something that they caused to go up. They brought it down a little bit. Now they're trying to sell it to you as something new. It's sad to see. And again, I go back to my statement from earlier. Perception is reality. That's why those poll numbers are. This is a perfect story.